What's up everybody, welcome to the first video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you the best rod and reels and line for a beginning angler if you want to get into stuff like tournaments or just want to have a really nice stuff for like bank fishing, or you just fish for a boat for casual, just the cheaper clearance type stuff that I use that doesn't break the bank. So I've got 3 spinning rods actually and 4 bait casters, which is what I mainly use for my tournaments. And the first is a spinning rod, and it is a Daiwa Revros it is a $50 reel, and it is by far the nicest reel I've ever seen for the price point. It is only 50 bucks and I have 4 of them, so it is pretty darn sweet. It is a 2500 size reel. It can hold 160 yards of 6-pound braid, which I have 15-pound braid on it right now, and I have this paired up with a Ducket Silverado. It is a sweet rod too. It is a 7-foot medium fast action rod. I use this rod for mainly throwing stuff like weightless worms, occasionally a Ned rig, and a drop shot, stuff like this a lot, and swim baits, open hook swim baits, real light swim baits. I use this rod for. It is a sweet rod and reel for sure. The next one I have is the same reel as the first one. It is a Daiwa Revros, but it is a earlier version. It is like the first version they came out with this rod, or this reel, and it actually was with a combo with a rod and reel for I think $50, and I bought it at Walmart, and I fell in love with these reels and have not bought any other spinning rods since. And I have this paired up with a Fenwick HMX medium light fast, and this is just a straight Ned rig rod. That's just about it I fish a lot of tournaments, so this is my Ned rig rod, and that's about it. It is a 7-foot, all my spinning rods are 7 foot, and then I have one 7.2, but I don't use it a ton. I think this rod is like $60, and of course the reel was 50 bucks. The rod, this is one of the lightest rods I have ever held in my hand. It's got Fuji components, which I love Fuji components. I don't really like rods with hardly anything else, and it is a sweet rod. Going back to the first rod, actually I forgot to mention this, but this Ducket Silverado is an $80 rod, and it is very nice also. Ducket is one of my favorite brands of rods, and I have quite a few Ducket rods. The third is my favorite combo, spinning combo. It is another Daiwa Revros with 15-pound braid, and this is a 7-foot Falcon. It is a Jason Christie Falcon drop shot rod, mainly I think is what it says. It is a drop shot and finesse rig rod. It is a medium action it's more of a medium heavy. It's a pretty heavy rod for a spinning rod, and it is got a fast action. It is amazing for drop shots and swim baits. I throw all my drop shots on it and all my swim baits, and it's got Fuji components. It's got everything that I want. This rod was actually, it's a little bit more expensive than the others. It is a $90 rod, and I got this at Walmart actually. I found this at Walmart. It's got a small handle. I don't really use anything but this little tiny handle. I like hold my rods mainly like this, or even like this sometimes, and it's just perfect. It's got a short butt. It doesn't come out very far, and it is a perfect rod. The whole thing, it is a 7-foot, and I have this paired up with a 15-pound Berkeley 9-strand braid, and I switch my leaders out all the time between 8, 10, and even 12 sometimes if I'm fishing around a lot of cover. The fourth rod and the first bait caster that I have is also a Duckett Silverado in the bait caster. It is a 7.3 medium heavy fast action, and it says it's a fast action, but it's not a super, it's it's more of a moderate fast. It's not a super fast rod. Has some give to it, but not a ton. And I've got this paired up with a Mock Speedspool Inshore Crush Max, something like that. They have a billion different names for these, but this is the Mock Inshore Speedspool, and this is a sweet reel. This reel is actually kind of expensive. It was $150, but this is one of the nicest reels, if not the nicest I have in the boat at all times. And I throw everything on this one, from chatterbaits to light jigs to light Texas rigs. I've got 17-pound Seaguar and Vizex on it, fluorocarbon, and it is a sweet rod. The reel is $150, and the rod is a $80 rod, same as the Silverado spinning rod, and it is amazing. I love this rod, and have used these like crazy. The next rod and reel is my crankbait and light treble hook bait rod. I use this for, well, Rapala crankbaits, tiny square bills, and very small swim baits that I want a little bit more action with, other than throwing like something on the spinning rod. I would rather have it on a bait caster because I'm just more comfortable with bait casters. But this rod is sweet. This is one of my favorite rods. Also, my bait casting rods, I had a tournament this past Saturday, and I wore them out with this red crankbait on this exact rod, reel, line, everything, except I got destroyed in the tournament. But that is okay. But anyways, this is a medium 7-foot cranking rod. It is super light and has a very slow tip for getting those crankbaits, and I did not lose a fish all day on this rod with this crankbait. You can tell this crankbait is beat up a lot. It has got tons of wear and tear on it. The bill's all scratched up and everything. And this rod is Micro Magic, so you can tell it has the tiny little eyelets, if you can see that. I mean, they are just incredibly small, and it is super accurate. You can make super good cast, short cast, long cast, anything you want to, and it throws this crankbait. I'd say probably you could throw this is a Rapala DT6, you could throw it probably 50 yards if you wanted to. And I have this paired up with 10-pound P-Line Fluoro Clear, which is the fluorocarbon coated fishing line. I've got it on 10-pound line, so I can get that bait just a little bit deeper and it has a smaller profile. And I have this paired up with a Luz Laser MG, which I got a couple of these reels a while back, and I loved these reels. At first, I didn't just fall in love with them, but the more I started using them, the more I realized that they're a lot nicer. And it is a sweet reel. And that's it. I've got it dialed in and everything, and I have it on this rod. It is awesome. The next rod and reel I have is this is a Cashin 7.6 heavy fast action. This is a tank of a rod. It does all my heavy work in the boat for sure. I just got this rod. Actually, I haven't even caught I've caught like a couple fish on it, and it has performed excellent out on the water. And I've got this paired up with a Shimano SLX, and this is the $99 version one, and I've got this for Christmas, this reel right here, and it is amazing. The big old handle grips, it just works perfectly for everything. And I throw frogs, I flip with this, I throw heavy swim jigs like 1/2 ounce or bigger. Most of the time I just throw a 1/2 ounce because that's the biggest swim jig I go to. And this is a workhorse. I've got 20-pound fluorocarbon on there right now, CR and VizX fluorocarbon, and when spring comes I will switch this rod and reel over to a braid rod, and I will throw frogs and flip into grass and even cover sometimes like trees, lay down stuff like that with it. It is amazing. It will just drag a 5-pounder straight out of the grass with nothing hurting on it, or I mean no worries losing the fish or letting it get off. It also has the micro guides on it. They're super small, and it has a lot of guides on it, so you can really get super accurate casting. It gets the line memory perfectly through there and out of the rod extremely well. It's got some weird handles. The only thing about it is it's got different type of handles. These handles are a little bit unusual. They're not cork or foam, but they're pretty sweet. I actually like these a lot. My dad doesn't like these hardly at all. He doesn't like this feeling or how little the handle is. But this is a great rod. This is one of my favorite rod and reel combos, though. It is amazing. I love this rod so much and cannot wait to start frogging on it this spring. And it will put in some work at a couple of these lakes that have tons of grass around me, Nickajack being one of them in central Tennessee. I will wear them out on a frog with this rod and reel. The fourth bait caster and the final rod and reel I have is another Duckett Silverado, which I already went over this, $80 rod. But this reel right here, one of the best bait casters for the money in the whole entire world. The Lew's Classic Pro. I have 2 of these, and I wish I had a boat full of them. They are absolutely amazing. I have this paired up with 12-pound. I have this with 12-pound fluorocarbon right now, 12-pound CR and VizX, and I throw swim baits on this. I throw swim baits. I throw small treble hook baits, baby bull shads, just small, some crankbaits, not normally a bunch of crankbaits. I normally, if I'm going to throw a crankbait on this, it's going to be like a DT10, DT12, all the way up to maybe about a 14. And then when I get up into the big crankbaits, I'll throw like a 7-Eleven super big heavy rod. But this is the best reel. I've had these reels and they have been through it. They have caught some very big fish around here. They've caught some very small fish, and they just never seem to let up. They're just perfect. I love these reels for $89. And I don't even know if they're $89. They may be even cheaper online. And I'm going to try to leave a link to all the stuff that I've said right here in the description, so you can go check it out. I've got this reel, dialed in and ready to go, and it'll outperform the Shimano SLX if I want it to, really. I would rather have 10 of these than one Shimano any time of the day, because these are amazing reels. And then the line that I use, the somewhat cheap line. Line is one of the most hardest. Line is the hardest thing for me to try to get away with, because line is super expensive. Fluorocarbon line is outrageous now, and for $25 for a spool line is just ridiculous in my opinion. But some of it is worth it and some of it is not, and I'm going to try to show you what the best line is for really all your applications that I use. And in any tournament, you don't have to worry about it messing up. The first line for all my spinning rods. I use the Berkeley 9-strand braid. It is excellent braid, and I love it so much. I use 15-pound, and sometimes I'll go up to 20. But the Berkeley 9-strand braid is some of the best braid that I've ever used, and I think it's like $12 or $13 a spool, and you get 150. You get 100. It says 164 yards on it, and I can normally spool about 2 reels with that, and then it's about done. But I like to use the white. This right here is white. I like the white, and I like the green. The green shows up really well, and the white does also in the water, so you can see if we're getting a bite and stuff. that is what I use on all my spinning rods, nothing else. And then I tie normally a fluorocarbon leader on. This is the next line. This is the P-line fluorocarbon coated copolymer fishing line. This is a super popular line nowadays. The copolymer is some of the best in my opinion because it is only $15 and you get 600 yards of line in this. This is the P-line. The P-line makes the best. In my opinion, this is 10-pound line. I use this for crankbaits, leaders for my spinning rods, and everything. I have copolymer fishing line all the way up to 25-pound line for throwing big, giant swim baits and flipping sometimes. So this line, absolutely amazing, cheap, perfect for anglers who are fishing from the bank, tournament, anything. I've fished a tournament with $15,000 on the line, and I've used that line because I'm not worried about it breaking off at all, because I can trust that line and I've used it forever. The next line, this is fluorocarbon again. This is when I step up into the more expensive line to throw serious baits when I'm flipping most of the time, and throwing crankbaits, chatterbaits, stuff that I throw pretty much on a daily basis, 12 months out of the year. I use a Seaguar and Vizex. This is 10-pound line. This is Seaguar and Vizex 100% fluorocarbon. Yes, it is $24 a spool, but I only buy 2 or 3 spools. Probably that I only have 2 or 3 spools that I use. I use 10-pound, 12-pound, and then I'll go up to a 17 and maybe 20. Those are about the only spools of that I get. I don't buy it in everything because it's way too expensive and I can't afford it. So that is the fluorocarbon line that I would recommend if you're wanting a high-end fluorocarbon to use on any of your bait casting setups or spinning rods if you like to use straight fluorocarbon on spinning rods. The next is what I use for frogging, flipping, and punching and stuff like that. And that's really the only time I use it, and it's the Power Pro braid. This is 50-pound braid. I usually use 50-pound braid on all my frogs and punching. I tried 65-pound last year and I did not like it as much, but it is okay if you want that heavier braid. The 65-pound isn't that bad. I just like a little bit smaller diameter of braid, and I've never lost a fish on 50-pound braid. I mean, it's 50-pound line. What can you expect? I don't think we're gonna break off on 50 or 65-pound. And I use this on this rod right here. I will put it on this rod and reel come springtime, and I will start throwing a frog, and I will probably never put the frog down. And then I use this line in 30 to 40-pound test for swim jigs, and I will put the swim jigs I will throw on this. I throw tons of swim jigs. The swim jig's my favorite rod. A swim jig is my favorite bait to use, probably, other than just a frog. But a swim jig, I've caught my most fish on swim jigs, and I will put 30-pound braid or maybe 40, depends on how heavy of stuff I'm fishing with a swim jig, on this reel, and I will throw it around all day. So that is the main rod and reels and line that I use. The 7 rods and reels that I use is the main ones for the price point, and then these 4 spools of line that I showed you earlier. Any of those are really good. I would also suggest always putting rod socks on all your rods and reels, because it works 10 times better and saves your rods and your eyelets, especially when you have micro guides. It really helps your rods from not tearing up or something. And I have a rod sock for every single rod, including all my spinning rods. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. Hit a like, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, as you can tell, this is my first video. I'm kind of nervous. I'm twiddling my fingers and playing with stuff because I'm nervous, but maybe I'll get the hang of it, of talking to a camera. It's kind of different for me. I'm not a super outgoing person, but that's okay. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and peace out.